Good evening, everyone. Officer Colwell, District 5 Community Partnership Unit. I think I know pretty much everybody in here. So tonight we have Rolanda Jones and Kai from the Milwaukee County Trauma Response Team. And they're going to go over kind of some of the services they offer. And then we have Captain Grant here who's going to go over the November statistics and answer any questions. So that being said,
a word of warning. Class they'll be coming in 6:30 or a little bit before. I see a bunch of people coming in late.
Really? I think I talked loud enough not to use this, guys.
Okay, so hi, I'm Rolanda with the Trauma Response Team, Milwaukee County Trauma Response Team. I am the lead for the team. I've been working for the last 3 years for the team. And I also have my coworker.
I am Sheronda. Everyone calls me Kai. I'm also part of the Trauma Response Team. I work as a psychiatric crisis worker. As Rolanda said, she is our lead. I want to tell you a little bit about our program. The Trauma Response Team, we work with youth between the ages of 6 and 17 who have experienced a traumatic event. That event could consist of anything from a death in the family to a car accident, a shooting, domestic violence, bullying, whatever that traumatic event may be. And trauma is when it becomes traumatic when an individual or the child starts behaving. The traumatic event starts affecting how they think, how they move, how they conduct their daily life. So what we do, we get referrals from District 5, District 7.
The community, the DA's office, and then sometimes parents refer their kids as well. So
yeah, anybody can refer somewhere, a church, any organization. We receive the referral, we reach out to the family within 24 to 48 hours.
48 hours.
Usually we do that sometimes the same day, no later than the next day. We reach out to them, we tell them about our program, offer a home visit. We go in a home to do an assessment, and from there, and we do the assessment with the youth and the parent present, and from there we kind of come up with an idea of what the youth wants for them, how to help them get past the event. Many of them, shockingly, the older ones
they're
open to therapy.
Very open to therapy.
Very open. Not only do they want to talk about that event that led them to us, a lot of times they might disclose, I have other things I want to talk about with someone in private. So that's been a good, and we try to do that, a warm transfer. We don't really have a limit on how long we keep a family, but we do want something to occur where we don't release them until they actually are connected with another service, like they have an assigned case manager, or they've met with the therapist, they've had that one session at first, and then they can continue on, and then that's kind of when we like discharge them or close them from our program. We are more of a reactive program, not acute like Milwaukee Mobile Crisis. We find out after the situation. It's not really a time period of when the incident happened. It's what's in the present, which is now. Is that incident, even if it was from a year ago, like a rape or sexual assault, if that event from a year ago is still affecting that child today, that is trauma. And you can still send a referral, because it could be leading to them getting in trouble in school. And we all know that a lot of times our kids are misdiagnosed with ADHD when it's really not ADHD. Mm-hmm. They are reacting or behaving in a way related to that traumatic event that never was addressed. So, and then we get our kids misdiagnosed and mismedicated, and that's why it's important to address that. How we get the referrals, other than the referrals coming in from these different entities and organizations, we have an electronic referral form. We have some printed ones in the back, because you can fill out a paper one and scan it and email it, or however you want to get it. You can call in, report a student or someone, one of those age ranges who's experienced something, and we can complete this form over the phone. Inside the schools, we can work with the No Violence Zone. I recently worked with them. They have reported some students who may have reported to them that they're experiencing something traumatic. Credible Messengers.
Yeah, we also work with the Credible Messenger program. That's through the detention center. We receive a lot of referrals from them. Well, we're starting to receive a lot of referrals from them now. The program, it started off small, we're growing. We started off with just 2 clinicians, then we went down to 1, which was me by myself for a while. And now we have 4 clinicians in total. So, like I said, the program is growing. One thing I wanted to say is that we do know that parents are the best, how can I put this? They know their child better than anyone else. So when we do go out and do the assessments on the kid, we're doing a lot of active listening, trying to find out what's going on with that child. As Kai said, we work with them on all of the needs that they have. There's no limit on what we won't do, whether that's housing, whether it's food pantries. I had a mom today that there was a whole list of stuff, and I'm like, oh God, this is gonna take me a while, but yeah, it was like 9 things that I'm gonna be working with her, and I think it was a referral that we received from District 5, so.
That's the part that Officer Caldwell doesn't see. We get a referral with one traumatic event, but then you get the family, you meet them, and then they got 5 traumatic events. We didn't know from the written referral that this young person just lost their sibling to a shooting 6 months ago or a year ago. And for us to bring that, or she's 16 or 17 and she's in a domestic violence relationship herself. That's not what's on the referral. The referral could be she got robbed.
Right.
But we don't know all that until we get in person, and then it all comes out. They kind of like release what's really going on. And that's why it's so important that we really try our hardest to do that warm transfer, and really stay connected. Rolanda has a young man that
Can't let him go.
Ooh, and I went to that visit, and you talking nonverbal, just don't want to give anything out that mouth, but those can be hard. And these are teenagers who are just, especially our males, who are unwilling to just kind of expose what's going on with them. But
that's another one that we received from District 5.
How long you had him?
I think I've had him for almost 4 months now. But he's coming around, and I know when I spoke with Caldwell, he's doing great. I mean, he started off where he didn't really he didn't really open up a whole lot at first. However, at the end, he really opened up, so that was great to hear. I was happy to hear that. So
yeah, sometimes it just we got a lot of success stories, lots of them. People who call us back and thank us just for getting them on that path, connecting them with long-term services, and that's the goal, long-term care. And because trauma response is a part of Milwaukee Wraparound program, that is our goal too, to wrap services around the whole family and meeting them where they are based on Maslow's hierarchy, if we all know what that is. Meeting them there and trying to help the whole family heal. Even parents, getting them connected with therapy and grief counseling and things like that. But that is what we do. No, anyone can make a referral. We understand Milwaukee Public Schools do have a trauma team within some of the schools. Some of the schools have the no violence zone, but some schools don't. Private schools, churches, and kids, not only do the parents know them best, but they do report to people outside of their family, their trauma, their abuse, their assault, and that's where we get those from. So we left some other information in the back, far as not just trauma response team, but also our wraparound, Milwaukee Mobile Crisis. You guys know what they are. They are the more acute crisis team. Owens Place, which is a safe, free space for youth, teenagers up to 24, who can go and get help with resume, job applications, things like that. A safe space to talk to someone. So we left a few resources in the back, mental health crisis resource book. Please share with your friends, family, community. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment, I've been working with Micah, the Milwaukee Inner-City Congregations Allied for Hope, for all the years I've been in Milwaukee, and one of the things that we heard over the years is, we need counseling in school, we need therapy in schools, so glad to hear it.
We do need that in school. Some things parents don't realize though, if they sign a consent, if your child was in Milwaukee Public Schools and they sign a consent with the school social worker or psychologist, they can receive some form of therapy in school until we can find again something outside of school that's more long-term. But if they need immediate counseling, we always want to connect the student with connect them with a safe space, and also possibly a person that they can go to even when they're struggling in school. Again, people may think they're acting out because of some other behavioral concern, but a lot of times it is just related. It could be what they just left before they came to school, whatever that may be, you know. So those things. Some people don't realize just yelling at our kids and cursing them out is traumatic, and it does affect them. And just a little side note about trauma, when a young person experiences trauma, seeing that their brain is still developing until the age of 23, it immediately changes the development of your brain. That one incident immediately affects how you think, how you move in life, how you may go left or right in life. One event could do that. And what we may think is not traumatic to us could be to someone else. And we know trauma doesn't always come in the form of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, or it could just be neglect, you know. But each person, their trauma is their trauma, and we can't take that away from them, regardless of how little we think it is compared to our own trauma. We can't even compare it because everybody experiences it differently. And when it comes to our youth and young adults, we need to be mindful. That's why you get some of those behavioral issues in school, because it has already started transforming their brain. It literally changes the function of your brain. So the more trauma you experience, the more it affects your brain development, and the more it will affect how you operate throughout your life. So what we want to do is, by connecting them to warm services or warm transfers to long-term services, that's what we want to try to prevent them from carrying that trauma into their adult life, which is, a lot of us suffer from that. A lot of us are the way we are based on trauma. Yeah. So, any more questions?
I got here a couple of minutes late because I don't know the area.
I'm sorry.
What does the team consist of?
Psychiatric crisis workers.
How many of them are there?
It's 4 of us, and we have a program manager, we have a clinical supervisor, Dr. Abby, and we have another clinical supervisor, Christine, but she's not fully on, but yeah.
Are you guys tracking or documenting the data?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do track it. We work also with the Office of Violence Prevention, so a lot of our records go through them as well.
Is this program funded by the Office of Violence Prevention?
No.
Okay.
Milwaukee County wraparound.
We have funding coming from different funding sources.
Might be on the back of your flyer. Some of them.
Yes, some of it is ARPA. We have some city funding, but it's just not Office of Violence Prevention in itself.
Yes.
I know there's a lot more services for kids up to 17, but I know there's a lot of kids who struggle who are like 18 to frontal lobe finishing and beyond. What is out there for that's at all similar, if anything, for that age? Because that age seems to they struggle the most sometimes, and there's not as much. Is there anything?
Yeah,
I know you mentioned Owen's Place.
But Owen's Place is just one. Just in wraparound, we have the Power Program. We have CCS. For those, and those programs help young adults transitioning into adult life. And transitioning, you could be 14 transitioning into adult life. 16.
And they're also referral based. I'm assuming referral based.
Anybody, they can. If you're an adult, you can self-refer. You can call we have a wraparound card in the back. You can call that number and they can self-refer, but they have to have a mental health diagnosis. But if they're self-referring, that number will help them get where they need to get. Also on that, we have Pathfinders, Walker's Points. Those are free programs where they can just walk in, they can say they want to participate, they will be assigned a counselor in training, getting their license, as well as a case manager. They have Wednesday, that's when they do their housing, and they have and that's for 17 and up. They do a housing, so they help them apply for low-income housing, something like that, help them get in housing, but they have a counselor there. What else we got? It's quite a few transitional. They got some that's just for females, and that one is about to end for this year, and they might have monthly meetings to show how you get connected. But if you leave your information or take one of our cards and email us, I'll send you some stuff for that population. But yeah, people don't know about those transitioning to adulthood, as well as we need to be mindful of places like this, our community churches.
Yes.
We need to get out there to utilize. I understand when we mention church, sometimes youth have a difficult time connecting, with Jesus Christ or faith-based organization, but we need to let them know and remind them that church can be a safe place. They actually have one on 51st and 50-something in Burlock, 53rd in Burlock, that church on the corner. You guys have had your community meeting, or that was 7th District. But every Wednesday, that pastor has open hours from 5 to 8, and he gets a pretty good crowd of youth, 7, 15, 16, 14, who come in there to deal or find a safe place to address some things that's going on with them and get some support. So yeah, I try to remind youth of that. Always find a church. If you can go nowhere, go there,
I think that was a great question, because I worked in child protective services for quite some years, and I've worked in adult services too.
Okay.
And the biggest problem that I've seen, and when I talk to youth in their early 20s and 18 years old, the problem that they have is that when they have services now, and Running Rebels and all
Yes.
the community services, and child protective services, but the problem that they have is when they're 18 years old, they get cut off from those services, and they don't know how to approach these other entities that you mentioned. I don't think the word is getting out, because I think this is why a lot of these kids gravitate to these acts of violence and things of that nature, gangs, because they can't find these services that we're talking about, and when they do find them, it's not what they had expected.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand that. On that wraparound, it's a sheet back there, and it's a number, I don't know it by heart. I should know it by heart.
257-7607.
I should know it by heart. But with that number, and on that card, they can connect a youth with a plethora of services. So
Young
even
adults, the young adults.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, young
Even up
adults.
to 20, I think 23 or 24.
It's 24.
24 it goes up to.
Yeah, but they are out there, and I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you get young adults, we have to, even with our population, and they're 17, and we connect them to long-term services, something longer term, where they will have they have a case manager. I always try to remind them, your case manager will be with you as long as you stay connected. Don't allow your case manager to fall off. Stay. A lot of our young people like that, because they might be transient or homeless or whatever, they're not able to keep track or have a cell phone. Especially like Pathfinders, we know a lot of runaways and what they call throwaways go to Pathfinders. When I say throwaways, they use that term there because those are families who kick their kids out for their sexual orientation or whatever it might be. But those are safe places they can go to address those needs. And also reminding our kids, if they go to counseling, that person could do that. And also when you mentioned working in social service, I feel like a little bit of the ball would drop, because when you're transitioning out of foster care, back in the day, when I worked in there were case managers who did that. When the exiting out case managers who, when you're exiting out of a foster care system or somewhere, they attached you to someone those exit, even in care coordination,
Yeah.
you know, they have exit coordinators that they should be connected with for those very reasons, housing, employment, because we're not supposed to just throw them away because they turned 18, but there are programs that have those, and you could call that number wraparound, that have those type of case managers for when someone is transitioning into adulthood, which they should be getting someone to work with them at 17, 18, like if they're in the system. If they're not in the system, wherever they are, that's the goal.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but we have business cards back there. Rolanda left hers, I left mine. If you guys want more information or have questions or want some more resources, please email us and we will get that information to you guys. Also on the back of the brochure, it's our program email, so it will go to everyone in TRT. You can also email that number, that email address on the back of the brochure, and any one of us will get it. But on our cards, I believe it's just our personal emails, but we're fine with that too. And again, please, if you know someone, call us so we can connect that student or young person with someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any more questions? But yeah, on top of our numbers and reporting, we report those numbers to, Rolanda said, yeah, officer, I was gonna say OPJ or whatever. But when we did a captain's meeting with all the captains from the district, they want those numbers
Yes.
too. They want those numbers too. They wanna know how successful the program is and where the numbers stand. So yeah, we give those numbers to different people that all about the number.
Can normal people get those numbers too, or how do you acquire those numbers?
Yeah, I guess we could,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
can local people get those numbers like other agencies? We could start including them sometime on our community when they do their monthly, when you guys do your monthly report, like crime in your environment, in your district or whatever.
Could add, yeah, TRT's made.
We could probably add some TRT for them. About how
We
many.
can talk to,
It's something we can talk about to add to their, when we go to the different districts, community, what is this? Safety and,
the
crime and safety meeting. There's so many of them, sorry. Yeah, when we come to these, we could possibly add it to, but Rolanda will work that out with the districts. But-
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Like, within our community, there are a lot of groups that meet regularly and they're doing activities. How can we, as a community, help in any way? And what I'm thinking about is my exercise class. We just donated 102 stuffed animals to District 5. So when they're patrolling or responding to calls and the children are traumatized, especially if they have to be removed from the home, a lot of times they just leave us what they have on. And so we wanted them to have something that they could take with them that's theirs. And hopefully that won't make the trauma go away, but hopefully that will, help,
Yes.
soften it some. So how can we find out other ways or other, resources that we can give to you guys to help soften that blow?
Well, like, we said before, our cards are on the back. Take one of those, feel free to reach out to us and we will provide you with whatever is needed. Like,
Okay.
we'll search for that.
And coming to your crime and safety meetings like this one, a lot of times they invite other organizations like this, and they bring all of their resources. We can give you some stuff, because we're county, we can give you some stuff from Department of Aging, all county programs. Because it's also a lot of elderly abuse and people aren't aware of those services either, so we're
And
trying.
Michelle's here, so.
Oh yeah, there she
Yeah,
is.
she just walked out.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
here.
okay, well, we can just invite her on in next call, well, if that's okay, she is here. But yeah, we try to promote all programs. But yes, get our card. I'll give it to you in the back and give you guys some resources of how to connect youth so that you guys possibly can do it right from there. But and we understand some people need their hand held, you know, a little bit. I call them, you know, just pull them up out the dirt a little bit, dust them on. No, let's get them back right, you know, because sometimes I need to be pulled out, you know, whatever, I need to be pulled out right now, move. There she go, we're going to just bring her on over here. What's her name?
She might be presenting.
Yeah, is she?
Michelle Allison, no, not
Not today, not Michelle.
today. You're good, Michelle, don't worry.
Oh, Michelle is Department of Aging, though. You got a few questions for her. Aging and Disability, that's the name change, but you got a few questions for her. I'm sure she'll answer them individually.
Yeah.
Want to make sure you're getting all the benefits you might be missing. That's why you want to talk to her. Okay, any more questions?
All
right, thanks for having us. We'll give you a copy of our report.
And I just say to the people who just came in, I think about that whole residents, I hooked up a grant there, the women just.
Brittany's gonna go real quick. Yep, just a little update. I also forgot to mention, we have Brittany Kachingwe here with us. She's an assistant district attorney. She's District 5's community prosecutor. And basically what they do is they deal with more kind of problems that are unique to the district. So if you have an ongoing problem that kind of requires creative solutions, she's really good at coming up with those solutions and addressing those problems.
Hello all, I just wanted to give an update. There's two areas of topics that I wanted to talk about today. One, we are ending year 2 of what I'm calling the pre-nuisance program that I have been working on for 2 years. Started back in the beginning of 2022. Basically, if a business, residence, or any sort of building has 2 or more violent crimes that occur at that location in 1 year, that business or that building can go into nuisance tracking. And then anytime there's additional violent crimes that occur at that location can get billed for it. So instead of waiting until there were 2 incidents and we're all of a sudden in billing, we decided after the first incident to write what I call is a pre-nuisance letter to the owner of the property. A lot of times the buildings, the residences, they are being rented by an owner who has no idea what is actually occurring at their residence. I've sent these letters to people out in Florida, out in California, all over the United States that own some of these buildings in the community to let them know, hey, there was this violent act that occurred. We wanted to let you know that any future incidents could lead to you being nuisanced and billed for police services. So it's just kind of a heads up to hopefully we can find a way to change the behavior or do something to reduce the crime at that business. So in 2022, for that entire year, I sent out 195 letters. That was 195 letters of violent crimes that were associated with buildings. Up until, I think last week, I did the numbers for 2023, 96. So 100 less than last year. So this is only year 2, so I don't know what to attribute that to, but that's going to segue into my second point. What I have been seeing is less crime associated with buildings, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of crimes on the streets, whether it's shootings related to reckless driving, auto thefts, whatnot. So as it relates to auto thefts, I'll start this story off by letting you guys know that I own a 2016 Kia Optima. The reason why I was not at Crime and Safety last month is because nice hard day at work, nice and hungry, ready to go home for the end of the day. I walk out to the gated parking lot where my car was with other squad cars there also, and I'm just like, wait, where is it? Maybe the battery's dead. No, so we ended up watching the security camera. We see the kid walk in behind an undercover car, walk up to my car, break the window, peel the steering column, and drive off. Now, when I noticed it missing, it had apparently been gone for 4 hours. I got my car back within an hour, and this right here is why. This is an Apple AirTag. I have one in my car. Once I noticed it was missing, I was able to tell police exactly where my car was, on 22nd and Center. Had a broken window, had the ignition peeled, so I did have to take it in. I was out of money for my deductible, but I have no car payments. So I want to keep that going as long as possible. So I was very thankful to District 5 for helping recover my vehicle, which probably would not have been recovered but for this. I am not a spokesperson for Apple, but
So, Britt, you're using the AirTag that we put on our luggage?
Yeah.
Leaving one in your car?
Yep, I have. So you get a 3-pack off Amazon for $100. You can buy individual if you want just one. I think it's around $30 to $40. There are other brands. It doesn't have to be Apple. Apple just works well if you have a Google phone or something. But I was able to pull up the app. So I have one on my keychain, one in my car, and one in my luggage, and it told me exactly where my car was. It's hidden so well inside my car, I don't even know where it is. We were able to find it almost immediately. So I like to have no car payments, so I'm sticking with it until it's good and gone. But I strongly encourage putting some sort of device inside your vehicle. It doesn't matter, Kia, Hyundai, whatever. I mean, cars are getting stolen, and yes, Kia and Hyundai make the news. They're the ones that are predominantly being stolen, but so many other cars are as well. So, I would strongly suggest that. And if anybody does work for Apple and knows somebody that I can be in a commercial for or something, that would be excellent. But any questions on the pre-nuisance or Apple? Yes.
I have a question.
Yep.
And to the nuisance property,
Yes.
and it pertains to the block I live on.
Okay.
We have a slumlord. I've lived there going on 20 years now. And, it's been a problem for me because her house is next door to mine. And, this summer took the cake. It just was bad. And we had gangs, she had put gangs up in there. They ran the whole house upstairs and downstairs and outside with machine guns and brought over daylight, flashing pistols, raws, smoking, dope, shooting up and whatever. It was just a crazy place. And we actually organized and worked with 5th District to get a handle on it. And they did somewhat, but the problem still persists because this slumlord owns that property. And she has told me several times, the area you live in is between Wright and Clark on 5th Street. And in other words, deal with it. That's what comes with the territory. While she's living in River Hills. And, I find that there's a problem with that.
Absolutely.
And because in the past years, we call and we call and we call, and if there's a response from the district police station, they'll come out, oh, okay, and I had an incident where the guy pulled out a machine gun and brought up in daylight, and I'm like ducking. I'm like, what the hell? So I get on the phone and call, and I call 5th District, and the person picks up, and they tell me, oh, is he still there? I said, no, he took off in a car, and I described the car. We'll call us when he comes back.
So here's a question: are you calling the District 5 like the front desk, or are you calling the non-emergency number? The
I think
MPD.
it was the person at the front desk.
Okay. So I'll respond to that situation with what I just see. A few things. One, no one should just have to deal with it just because they're living on whatever street. Absolutely not. the way that I get notified of these types of cases is calls for service. When you call the non-emergency phone number, they'll generate what we call a CAD, a computer automated dispatch. And anytime there's a CAD report, that is evidence where I can say, somebody called the police on this house. Now, realistically, if somebody flashes a gun out on site, they're not gonna stick around with the gun in the air until police come. But even if nothing is done that day, that is one check towards me being able to write this letter. It happens again in a week. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to necessarily be they pulled the trigger, it's a violent offense, because there can be 3 non-violent nuisance offenses in 1 month can register me sending out a letter as well. That's, loud noises, disorderly conduct, dogs barking, drug use, a lot of what you have been saying. So what we really need are those CAD calls. We need you to call the non-emergency phone number, which I will defer to one of the officers to tell a little bit more about when they get up here. At the end of this meeting, we will get your information. I want to make sure that that house is on my or our radar to see what we can do about it and pull those CADs as well. I do have a long list of them. But I greatly appreciate you pulling people together to address this situation, because you should not feel like you should just have to deal with it because of where you live. And those letters are going to go directly to the owner of the building. Now, if they want to see this letter, crumple it up and throw it away, okay. But then the next time it comes around, you're nuisance tracking, and you are going to get billed for every single time the police come to the residence. And those aren't, $25 fines. Those are thousands of dollars of fines for police. Most people want to avoid that. Some people are just irrational, but we will do everything in our power if we can get in contact with the actual owner of the building to let them know what's happening and the consequences if it keeps happening. It's one of the things that you sign up for to become a homeowner or a building owner or a business owner, is what happens on your property. You can't just sit back, relax, and not care wherever it is you may live.
Well, we have to give a special thanks to Captain Grant,
Yes.
because with her efforts of viewing our situation, and we were ready to put our homes up for sale. The reason why we moved to this area, because I was living in Oak Creek and other places, and I was attracted by what the city wanted to do with this area. And I believed in it. We had the police support for a while, for a short while, and then nothing. And we were on our own. But if it wasn't for Captain Grant taking a special interest in this situation with this slumlord and her property, who knows if several people would have been dead by now.
Absolutely. And we work hand in hand.
I just want to say, I know what it's like to live next to a slumlord. And so that's why when I came in District 5, I was like, Brittany, we need to figure out something as far as why are we waiting? Because I remember living in 41st and Roosevelt. I owned my house. There was this slumlord. I won't say his name because we're recording right now. But reach me afterward. But and every few months it was a different cycle of people. And it was a duplex. So upstairs is different, downstairs is different. It's just a continuous cycle. And I'm a sergeant at the time. But who wants to come home from work when you're dealing with everybody else's problems, to deal with problems right next door? And I'm calling the district, I'm not gonna say the district's number because we're recording, but I'm calling the district, hey, this is what's happening, why is nothing being, so I know what it's like to have those constant phone calls over and over again, being on the police department. So that's the reason we came up with pre-nuisance, sending the letters out, because we don't wanna wait until it's a problem. If we can see it becoming a problem, we wanna step in. Now, I did receive an email recently about North 5th Street. And so that's on our radar again. And I know that before the other people left.
So there was the one house that was was the primary cause of the issues. We did get a hold of the owner. She came up to the property. Those people are gone. It's now a family that lives in there. Now there's an issue with the house next to it. Got in touch with that. property owner, and she had no idea what was going on, and she's putting the names.
Well, this property, if I may mention the address, 2554 and 56 North Fifth Street. What the landlord did, when you guys cracked down on it, sure, she moved that gang out, but she moved in a part of that gang. And within 2 weeks, like I said, I called Fifth District, because they're flashing machine guns in the air in broad open daylight. So the same people that she got out of there, she moved in one part of that gang, so they basically back in there. And
So-
downstairs, I had to call you guys for loud music, because the guy she put downstairs, I come home and he's out there dancing on the floor, music blasting and doors wide open. And I'm like, what the? So when I come in the house and say, he'll fizzle out sooner or later.
Mhm.
2 o'clock in the morning, he's going strong. That's when I called you guys. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So,
I live on Sixth Street in the 2500 block, so I get a lot of the noise, loud
Yeah,
music from Fifth Street.
right.
But also next door to me was a similar situation where I was just constantly calling because it was young people that was living in the house next door to me. And the final straw was the night I heard them over there arguing. And lo and behold, I started hearing gunshots. So I'm turning off lights, I'm hitting the floor. And I know the last time I called, I don't know who I got at the Fifth District, but I do not believe it was a police officer because the information that she gave me did not sound right at all. So when the gunfire started, I actually called the landlord and said, this is the last straw. This is it. And then he started hearing the gunshots.
Yeah.
And he was like, is that coming from my house? I said, right next door to me, yes. And I'm just hoping no bullets come into my house. He was over there in 10 minutes. He cleared that house out.
That's great. And so,
it is still in.
one of the things about nuisancing a property is once it gets to the point where we can nuisance them, they have to develop a plan as to what they're going to do to make changes to the property so this doesn't happen again. Simply evicting is not enough. You can't just say, I'm going to evict them. You have to come up with something different, whether it's better background checks for the people that you bring in, better lighting. I'm going to install Ring doorbell cameras, stuff like that. So simply evicting is not enough. They need to do additional stuff. And that's the conversation that we tried to have with the owners once they're responsive and we've sent a letter out, or unfortunately if it's gotten too far where we have to nuisance them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, if they keep getting like the nuisance fine, what okay, they're getting fined at this point. How long does that go on?
Yeah.
So a property will stay in nuisance status for up to a year. If they get, after they get 2 bills, if they get a 3rd bill, they'll be deemed a chronic nuisance property, which lasts 3 years. So at that point, not only are they get billed, they also would get written a chronic nuisance ticket. As far as the bills go, they can either pay them, or if they don't pay them, it will go onto the property tax for the residents. We'll just keep track of it.
Okay, but either way, the city's getting their money.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like a ticket where they can just say, I'm not paying it. It's going on the property taxes, so it's not going anywhere.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know, like, if they just say, no, I'm not paying it, is that okay?
No.
Okay, good.
I got a question, like, so, like, certain families or in communities be a nuisance, no matter where they go. So, is there like a system set up to where we know that these particular people are nuisances?
mean, anytime they're having police contact, their names are popping up. So if they have police contact and their information is given to police on one incident where they're being disorderly and stuff, obviously they have an incident again with police, that name's gonna pop, their name's gonna
But I'm
pop.
saying like a different address, like you were just saying, it always ain't good enough to stop. And they always ain't good enough to, or go straight to eviction. But you know what I'm saying, I've seen people wherever they go, even if the landlord wasn't a slumlord, they will tear down the home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, and then you evict them, and then they barely got, they was in District 5. But now they done moved over to 3 somewhere and get the same thing. Are we setting up systems where we know that those kind of issues are being dealt with? Because it ain't always the property, it be the people.
Yeah, so right now, Felicia, we don't have, there's nothing for that. So one thing that we always want and wish for is for the landlord to do a thorough background check of the individuals before they move them in. Now, I'm keeping it real, if they move out of District 5 and move to another district. But that just becomes another problem for someone else, another headache for someone else to have to deal with.
Right.
We don't have anything, and I don't know if there could be anything legally in place for us to monitor, but we just really depend on the landlords. But then you have to think about it too, and I know that this is not our problem, but where would those individuals go? They're gonna have to go somewhere, right? And so, yeah.
And
also,
That
and then
evolving.
also, I wanted to ask too, like, so say you got a nuisance property, right? And it has switched tenants, right? But, are there properties or certain landlords? Okay. Like certain landlords, or how we categorize, like, is this landlord, just letting anybody in? How can resident after resident after tenant after tenant after tenant be a nuisance at the same property?
I mean, it doesn't matter who's living at the property. You could have, an incident happen on October 1st, the landlord kicks them out. On November 1st, an incident happens at the property with a new, tenant there. That landlord, that owner of that property, that's still another incident at that property. So it doesn't necessarily follow the person if it stays with the property and the property owner. And one thing I will mention is we do not nuisance based off of domestic violence. So if there's a domestic violence incident, whether it's a shooting or a battery or anything like that at a residence, we're not going to nuisance based off of that because we don't want to discourage the victims from calling the police. So if the victim lives at this house, boyfriend or girlfriend comes over and shoots her or him, we're not going to nuisance the property based off of domestic violence because we don't want to punish that victim for calling the police in that sort of situation.
Yeah, sexual assaults and overdoses too, excuse me.
Yes.
Getting back to the problem of shooting, and I called you guys about maybe a few times in 1 week with the alley and back on 5th Street. And where I have to we have to basically get in the house before dark because they're shooting on a regular basis. And that's not fun.
No.
I'm sitting in my living room looking at a movie, and all of a sudden I got a duck. I'm on the phone with you guys. And it's just on a regular basis.
Alleys are a little bit more difficult because it's hard to determine which actual property it is associated to. If a witness can say, like, yes, it's associated with that house, that's one thing, and we need that witness statement. Otherwise, it's hard to determine what exact house it's being associated with. I know that the city we can get in contact and hopefully get some better lighting in the alleyway. That's one option, but there's no big difference. If you're a witness, you're at your house, you're in the back and there's an alleyway and the person that lives at this house or is associated with this house is popping off rounds in the alley, I would still consider that to be associated with that residence and at least that I can send the pre-nuisance letter out. Now, whether or not the property can actually be nuisance, that is for the city attorney to determine. And he or she would have to determine, listen to your statements and whatnot. And that's obviously absolutely plausible, but sometimes it is a little bit harder in the alleyway, just depending on if we have somebody as cooperative as you, or somebody who just calls it in and says, somewhere in the alley.
Well, it's basically the two houses in question on that block. One cottage next to 2154 and 56 North Fifth Street. The cottage right next to it on the north-hand side. Those folks moved in there, and I was like, And sure enough, they weren't even in there maybe 2 nights, and there people shooting in the house. And that's the house that had the after hours. And I had taken something to make me sleep because I had a problem sleeping at night. So I didn't, my neighbor had all that on camera. And it was all out in front of my house. And I'm like, cause I saw the footage of that video. And I'm like, what? It was crazy.
Wild West out there in some places, but having video is extremely helpful. And if you contact somebody from our unit, the community partnership unit, we will come and get that video.
And the fact that, they say that comes with age, that you don't sleep a full 7 or 8 hours, which I guess is true. But I have to take something sometimes because I'm up all night. And not only from, if I start dozing off, I have to wake up again because these people in this duplex are blasting their music coming through my walls, shaking my pictures on the walls.
I will definitely, you have that address, reevaluate it.
I do, and we gotta get,
Yeah, gotta
moving
get
on,
moving.
but I'll just address this real quick. So I did talk to the owner, the gentleman that moved into the house to the north that you're talking about. He was known in District 1 for doing the same thing. So he's got a pattern of doing that. He just moved in, the person who owns the property called me out, almost like cussed me out on his behalf, 'cause she's like, I didn't know he was doing this. So she told me that he's history. I don't, I can't force her to do that, but that's what she relayed to me. And the other thing I just wanted to mention real quick, well, 2 things. So for shot spotters, she's talking about associating it with the property. So she does a pre-nuisance. The actual nuisancing goes through, like she said, the city attorney's office. They have much more strict requirements for that ordinance enforcement. It has to be on the 4 corners of the property. So as silly as it sounds, if there's all these people over here because of that house and they're in the street, we really have to explain how that, the quote he said is it has to be on the 4 corners of the property. Now, sometimes when we're able to make that connection with that house where it's been accepted by him, but it's just an extra level of.
So they're dragging their heels on it.
No, it's not dragging their heels,
That's
but
the
they
law.
have to deal with appeals and all that kind of stuff. So that's what they're.
That's what the actual statute in the law says, but that doesn't mean that, okay, we're done, we're not gonna do anything about it. At the end of the day, we still know that this is happening and being attributed to this residence, so that's gonna get, Captain Grant can help get more eyes on that location, especially in the streets area. But nuisancing is just one avenue of helping to prevent that.
Well, this
And-
area,
Go ahead. Yep.
this area has a lot of good history. And I grew up in the area where the freeway came through and we were displaced when they decided to come through there. And I lived in other places. And like I said, what attracted me back here was the fact, okay, we got plans to redevelop this area. And I was like all in on it. Matter of fact, I even bought property in River West as rental property. I bought in on it. And we had no enforcement from the police department, and crime was people just did whatever they wanted to do, and that's sad. I lived here all my life, and I remember we didn't even have to lock our doors, and this is sad. This is really sad. And the trash and stuff, like I said, the slumlord, I complain with the neighborhood services, they come out, they write it up, and the tenants go and take that garbage, they work at it, and put it all along my property line, so when I come in and out, when my sisters come over to visit me, it's there. You know, this is ridiculous. But you got a lot of people, just seen the people here, who have an interest in this area and wanna improve it, you know? And we get let down at every turn sometimes. And it's disappointing. So the reason why you said that the calls dropped was that people just said, well, why should I call anymore? You know, nobody cares. You know, and, you know, it's just, it just breaks my heart because I love this city. It's close to downtown, you know, and good friendly people, good neighbors and stuff. So, yeah, we have a vested interest in this area, and we want it to improve.
Yeah, and I won't say her name, but I mean, I've talked to her at least once a week on 5th Street, and she and I have discussions. I mean, we are, you know, I know we wish that we could snap our fingers and make it happen, but we are, like I said, I wouldn't be calling her up, talking to her, asking her questions, giving her updates if we didn't care. We do. So I understand you're frustrated, but I mean, we are doing the best we can with the resources we have, and it's if we're not, just because everything's not fixed doesn't mean that we're not trying. I just want to make that clear.
How can you find out if there's shot spotters in your area?
So we don't like to really advertise where the shot spotters are. I'll let you know that if there's shots fired, please call, because the shot spotter will tell us exactly where they are. And it's a very good tool for finding casings, and then that way we can nuisance it. We'll say there's casings in this yard, we know that they were shot from this yard, we can use that as a incident to nuisance it. If it's a shots fired call, or if somebody just hears gunshots and they're a couple blocks away, that's hard for officers at 3 in the morning to find little casings if they don't have an exact address. So it's important that you call that in, and say, if you know what house it came from, provide it so that they can find it. Because if they get sent out to shots fired and they can't find anything, we can't substantiate it, because anybody can say they said that. We really need to get moving along. Last thing I'll say is, I know you both mentioned calling the district and not getting a squad or having an issue with that. I actually talked to Lieutenant Brian Damon, who was at the last meeting. I emailed him, I said, can we get something when you call the district where it says like a prompt, if you need a squad, press whatever. It sounds like what they're trying to do is they're trying to go to a central number, so you call the non-emergency number for everything. So if there's something going on, if you want to get a hold of the district, and then it'll be a prompt in that menu. So, you know, if you need a squad, if it's an emergency, press whatever and they'll give you the 911 operator. If it's not an emergency, you know, it'll be a number. If you need a district, enter the district number. So, because that is confusing, some people think they call, but we can't dispatch squads, we can't create assignments. And I think there was a thing in District 7 a couple years ago, there was an armed robbery, somebody called the district, the squad never came, but it was because they called the district and not the, so.
Okay.
They're trying to address that because it has been a problem. But if there is something you need a squad for, or you have updates of a call that you made in, don't call the district, call either 911 or the non-emergency number, because we can't.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
And
it's confusing.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
All right. Captain, you're not left with a lot of time, but
That's okay.
thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
So down.
Yeah? Okay. All right, so let's talk about our crime. First of all, thank you all. It's a lot of y'all. It's been a minute since I've been here too. I apologize, but they have been working me. I'm telling you, it's no joke at our wonderful district, which I appreciate because I don't like to be bored. So as it relates to our homicides, so right now we've had 37 homicides compared to 39 last year. So we're 2% lower than where we were last year at this same time. Is that good? No, because like I always say, any homicide is too many homicides. And I recall I believe this was just earlier this year, maybe in June, maybe it was sooner than that. But there was one particular homicide that really touched me. That was the homicide of a 14-year-old boy who was killed off of 9th and Atkinson area. And I believe that was one of the few homicides of children that we've had in District 5. And so right now what we're seeing with the homicides that we do or are having, these individuals are generally older, between 20 and I would say even a little bit older than 20, maybe about 24 to 24 plus. That's what I'm seeing the general age to be. And generally the gender is male. Sometimes we do have females who are victims of homicides, but not as many as men. The next category we'll talk about is our sexual assaults, our rapes. So right now, 2023, we have 84 year to date compared to 81 last year. So we have about a 4% increase. And so what I can say regarding the sexual assaults is that most of the sexual assaults that we have had, generally they are, the victim knows the suspect. So a lot of the times it's a family member, it's a family friend, those types of things. However, we have had some incidents where there have been stranger sexual assaults. And so what I always tell people is to ensure that you're telling your young folks, young boys, young girls, when it's dark outside, make sure if you're walking home from someplace, walk home with the group or call somebody to pick you up or something like that. And just try to make sure that you stay away from alleys and things like that. So our robberies, so for 2023, year to date, we've had 280 robberies compared to last year, we had 287. So that's about a 2% decrease. But what do I always say about the robberies? How do we prevent ourselves from being victimized by robbery? If I'm getting out of my car, going to my house, I'm not on that cell phone, right? That cell phone is a leading factor. Give me that phone, give me your purse, give me your wallet, that kind of stuff. Just being vigilant. If you are about to park or pull over someplace, just looking to see if there's a lot of people hanging around, if there's somebody that's inside in the cut, that's one of the little gangways, maybe you can drive around a couple more times or maybe take about 10 minutes, drive away for a little bit before you come back and engage that individual. Hopefully that person will normally be gone. People who rob folks, they're looking for people who are easy targets, right? So people who, they're not paying attention, they're by themselves, the area is perfect because it's darkly lit. So just making sure that you are paying attention to the individuals in your surroundings and also your general area. And what I also tell people too, is that sometimes you can't prevent where you are, right? Sometimes if you are down the street, if somebody else is down the street, you can't prevent those types of things if they decide to rob you at that point. But what I always say is make sure that you're looking at that person in the face. Sir, how you doing today? So what does that do for me, right? I may have not been paying attention to you at all, but I know right now, sir, how you doing today? I see your face, you have on a black hat, you have on some black glasses with the black outer lenses, your nose, nice gray beard right there. Very nice looking man, thank you sir for being here. But when you look at people, you're able to get something out of that context. So it's not like me just walking down the street on my cell phone or, hey girl, I'm going to the grocery store. No, I'm looking at you, how you doing sir? As I continue to walk on. Because what that's going to help me do is it's going to help me be able to give the officers an identification of what the suspect looked like if they were to attack. Aggravated assaults. So for 2023, we are down 14%. We have 1,222 compared to last year, which was 1,414. So aggravated assaults, those are generally the incidents where someone has been so generally it's some type of a physical altercation, bone is broken, a tooth is knocked out, laceration that requires stitches, etc. Human trafficking, right now we're down 22%. 2023 we've had 7 so far. Last year we had 9. So we're down, but that doesn't mean that human trafficking is not happening. I always say that if you see a lot of people frequenting residences, please give us a call. And it's not just our younger girls or our younger boys that are involved in this. It could be any age, okay? So if you see a lot of activity with just in general, give us a call. Because we can't necessarily say that we know what human trafficking looks like on the outside because we just don't. But if we see something that doesn't look right, give us a call. And all we can do is go find out, maybe we can interact with someone who says, yes, this man is pimping me. Believe it or not, this was when I was an officer at District 4 about 10 years ago. There was a young I would say she's about the same age as I was. Maybe we were about 25 or something like that. And I recall going to her house. She called the police about her boyfriend breaking out her window or something like that. They never lived together, didn't have any kids together or anything like that, but she disclosed that he was pimping her out. So basically exploiting her over the states, going to Nevada and other places, just talking about, well, not talking about, but actually having her perform acts for money and paying him. And so that small conversation of why did he break your windows out turned into something different, turned into something much bigger than just that. So just make sure that you call us. Our burglaries are up. So we've had 369 burglaries this year compared to 313 burglaries last year. So that's an 18% increase. So that is significant for us. So what are some of the ways that I always say that we can somewhat prevent ourselves from becoming victims of burglary? Better lighting, doorbell, the ring doorbells, community watch programs, neighborhood watch programs.
Yes. And make sure your door is locked.
Yes, yes. This
And
is
your
not, yeah.
automobile is locked.
Huh?
And your automobile is locked. 'Cause
Yes.
A lot of people leave their keys in the ignition.
Yes.
Holiday season, when you get that brand new big TV from Santa, don't put that box right there, right out there to show everyone what you got inside your house.
Yes. Yes. So please be cognizant of that, because just because you are, you bought something nice, everybody don't want to see you happy. Some people want to take what you have. Okay? So our thefts, we are down 7% compared to last year to date. So we've had 985 thefts, and last year we had 1,054 thefts. So one thing I want to point out, which is huge, is ADA Kachingwe. So there were 2 subjects who were recently arrested, $65,000 in theft from Home Depot at Port Washington, who were recently arrested by District 5 officers. Shout out to District 5 officers. And they were charged
with several, I think I did the Class G felonies for retail theft, just loading up, walking out. Lawnmowers, grills, drills, you name it. I think they were actually up to $75,000 in retail theft.
In one day?
No, nearly, I would get calls maybe 3 to 4 times a week. They were there almost every day.
Yeah, I saw that at Home Depot, I think that's in Franklin. And I was waiting in line to cash out, and the lady, the clerk said, sir, you haven't paid for that. He walks out and he's got a big weed whacker.
That's probably him.
Probably,
He was up there so much.
probably, it was.
Sometimes twice a day.
Yeah, they are now off the streets.
Yeah, everything is locked up.
Everything, like y'all moving? They have to lock everything up.
So our motor vehicle thefts, so year to date, we've had 630 compared to 941, so that's a 33% decrease, so that's pretty huge. That's a major blessing for us. But I also want to jump real quick to our carjackings. So we've had 59, so actually, I just want to make sure I give you, so right now, year to date, we have 61 carjackings compared to 59 from 2022. So we are just about two. So we just had 2 more incidents. So although that's not bad, it's still not good because of course we have those additional victims. So I just wanted to show you guys the reduction in our motor vehicle thefts, I believe had a partial or caused our carjackings to go up a little bit. Okay, so we've had 33% decrease in motor vehicle thefts and a 2% increase in our carjackers. But the good thing is that our Kias and our Hyundais, except for Brittany's, they're not being stolen as much. But still, like you said, sir, make sure when you are I know it's getting cold, right? Please do not start your car up and go in the house. Because I guarantee you, Your car will not be there when you come back out, okay? So please just make sure if you're gonna start your car up, stay in the car. Now, if it's in the garage, you have more security. Don't stay in the car while the garage doors are closed. Don't do that, okay? Well, but just make sure that if your car is parked outside on the slab or parked outside on the street, just stay inside your car as it warms up. But also make sure that you're on the lookout too, okay? Because we don't want anybody just running up on us. Yes, ma'am.
In Brittany's case, that told me that no place is safe.
Yes.
Just keep your eyes open. You know, what we're telling people is, you know, it was very easy in hindsight to see that kid walk in. Just be aware of your surroundings. And I didn't put my wheel lock on because I thought it was a safe area. So it's going on everywhere now, I can tell you that much. Maybe even in my garage.
I'll just give a real quick story. I was on limited duty at the front desk at District 5, and I stopped somebody from stealing an officer's car out of the employee lot.
Oh, I have a sentencing coming up where a guy stole 2 squad cars during traffic stops. So, yeah, anything's fair game nowadays. It's just, there's different things you have to do to, you know, you can try to prevent it.
So the reason is, just in case, well, there's a lot of reasons. But say, for instance, while an officer is out there conducting that traffic stop, that individual shoots at the officers or something like that and drives off, that officer can jump in the squad car, her and his partner, her partner can go and go after the individual. So there's a variety of reasons. And so yeah, there's a variety of reasons.
This is a very rare incident, though, that somebody's gonna steal a squad car.
When they steal squad cars, still go under
The radio's turned off too.
They do. The radios also turn off as well, as Steve indicated.
Yeah, some of the squads, not all of them, but some of them, if you turn the ignition off, the squad radio will turn off.
Oh.
And then there's even other ones where if you turn off the squad, the computer will lose its connectivity.
Yeah.
So generally, if we're on an assignment, we leave it running.
Yeah, I often wondered that.
But there's a kill switch, so if there's a button we push, you take the key out, and not all of them have it also, which is why they get stolen, but you take the key out, and if you push on the brake without the key in, then you turn it off, but not all squads have it.
I have a 2012 Kia Sorento, and I have an alarm with a kill switch. So when I push that, it activates the kill switch. But a couple weeks ago, Kia had us to bring our Kias in. I think it was from 2011 to maybe 2017, and they updated the
Over on Mayfair?
computer system. Yeah.
I was out of town.
Oh no!
1 week later, my car got stolen.
I was right.
Series of unfortunate events. At the end of the day, what I'll say is, you know, property can always be replaced.
Yeah.
You know, your life can't. So if somebody's carjacking or anything like that, I say, you know, here, take what you want. You got insurance, so.
All right, and then our arsons are down. So year to date, so far, we've had 44. Last year, we had 60, so that's a 27% decrease. Our fatal crashes are also down by 10%. This year to date, we've had 9. Last year, we had 10. And our non-fatal shootings are also down 11%. This year, we've had 179. Last year, we had 201. So overall, as it relates to our stats, they are much better than they were last year, but it's still not good enough. So we're still working, and we literally have no real days off, so we work. So, and then also just I know that the holiday season is here, so just please be mindful of what it is that you are. Just be mindful of your surroundings. Did you have something? That's all I have.
I have a question. For Britt. Britt, what about houses in your neighborhood where they don't keep up the garage and like it's open, they can't shut it?
That would be a
That's-
DNS.
Yep, that's a DNS thing, they can write up
What's
orders.
DNS again?
Department of Neighborhood Services.
Okay.
And yeah, just let us know because they're part of our community partnership unit. And we can write it up and have someone go and do an inspection of it as well.
It's just one across the street from my house that just bothers me, because this is my district as well.
Yeah.
And I live off Congress, because there are so many teenagers who be on the bus stop at 6 a.m. and girls, or because they probably go to
suburban schools, so they're out there at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I just feel like this is just a
That's it.
trap
Mhm.
waiting to happen. And I mean, they keep the area clean, but it's dark in that garage, cause one side closes, but the other one will not. It's just, it scares me.
We can get the address from you afterwards.
Okay.